If you were the decision maker at like at a company, an industrial company that needed to purchase security for your ICS or OT systems, what I guess how would you decide on what you were looking for vendor wise? Because what I hear in the industry is there's so much confusion when people are getting ready to buy something, and what are you really getting, and what, in your opinion, what would you be looking for to separate the bad? You know what I'm saying? To separate the important vendors who are really on it with ones that maybe are just not.
So I do this a lot, actually, more recently with the prime on this contract with this agency. Kind of wrote up a little simple test plan of like, okay, here's these 6 things, and within these 6 things, here's like sub bullets. Check this, check this, check this. Here's the expected outcome, and here's all these different products. If they can't do these basic 6 things in these sub bullets, and I built it where it builds on top of itself, right? I was like, if they can't do these 6 things, then they're almost useless for control systems, at least for what I need them to do, right? And I was like, yeah, I know at least 3 of them that can do 4 or 5 of these. None of them can do all 6. So there's your problem right there, because none of these people understand user-centered design. We've shifted away from that over the past decade or so, where most of these folks that make products don't know a damn thing about user-centered design. They're making what they think based on their opinion, based on reading the tea leaves in the market, based on some stupid marketing report. They didn't talk to anyone who actually is a super SME user, a super user of their applications, a super user of the product, a super user of the process. Bring them in to do user acceptance testing so they can say, hey, I need to see this. No, I need it to work like this. Most of these organizations don't know how to do that anymore, or they've never learned it like I did, because that's on the IT side, 15, 16 years ago, my undergrad was in systems design, systems integrations. So thinking about functional design, I think, is lacking in a lot of these security products. Some of them focus on, hey, let's have cool graphics, but their functional features suck underneath, like they don't pull enough detail. You have others who pull enough detail, but they didn't think about the functional features of, okay, how do I allow this person to do other things they want to do with this information on my dashboard? So what I look for is usability. Does it meet certain functional capabilities, functional requirements? If it doesn't meet those things, I don't give a crap who made it, how close I am to them as friends. I don't really care. If it can't do the functional things, it's not applicable to my environment and what I'm trying to do. The other thing I would focus my money on more so than buying products is fixing the shit we already have. So I would focus more on like, hey, you vendor so-and-so, Snyder, Siemens, Rockwell, Automated Logic, freaking Iconics, Inductive Automation, all you clowns, here's my functional requirement. You're going to come in here. We're going to do acceptance testing. We're going to check every single thing you gave me to see if it has its functional capability. Then when I figured out it doesn't, you're going to explain to me why it doesn't, because there's international standards that have been out around over a decade now that tells you how to do this. So I don't want no excuses. Half of you on the committee. And as an asset owner, if I was one, I'm on the committee now, but I always try to get asset owners, especially C-level guys and lead engineers, to at least subscribe to the committee so they can see the email traffic going back and forth, even if they can't make the meetings. Because I think more asset owners and more users need to be on there saying, hey, no, this is how I use it. Yeah, I get you have your opinion, Mr. Vendor, Mr. Integrator, Mr. Policy Person, but this is what actually happens for me every day, right? So if it was me, my money, my decisions, my plants, oh, hell. Let's just say some of them already know how I'd be. Mm-hmm. I'd make them meet some serious requirements that they ain't used to meeting, because I wouldn't be effing around. I'd be like, you suck. You're not coming on my environment. Nope. I need you to change these 5 features. Then I'll buy your stuff. And if they say, oh, well, no one else asked for it, I don't give a damn. I'm asking for it. It's my money. Do it or have a nice day. Unfortunately, some of these C-level folks don't have that kind of experience. They didn't come up through the trenches like I did, where they can think both strategically and technically at the same time, where they can understand, look, I want to go this direction for these safety reasons or these economic reasons, or so one of my customers is national security customers, so I know I'm going to be targeted. These things that are common sense to guys like me aren't necessarily common sense to other people. But if I had that authority and that money, I'd probably shake the foundation of the industry. And there's some people out there doing it, right? I've been in some environments of companies that impress me. Like there's some liquefied natural gas folks. Now they were lucky because they did complete greenfield, so they might be the unicorns, right? But from the ground up, they were like, no, we're doing it like this. We're going to use these standards. We're going to bring in these people that already understand this, that already have experience. Even their C-levels, have both ICS and IT experience, and they were lucky. When it comes to brownfield stuff, that plant over in Belgium, I was impressed with how they wrote their hardware specifications and their application specifications. And I mean, they wrote specifications where like for each system and each component, they had like screenshots of different steps in the function block diagram on what it was supposed to do. The problem was, like I was telling you earlier, they didn't have a team of people like me and Jake and everyone else to come in there and actually go validate that these random wild west of integrators from all these different countries actually complied, right? All they had, and they showed it to me, was like a letter saying, hey, we did these things, but they had no way and no staff to go back and check, because anybody can say they did anything, but doing that validation is key. And then obviously, how do you maintain it? I mean, that's a huge problem, but that's where I would focus a lot of my resources on. How do I get that guy staff? How do I promote him to be my global ICS security director, to make sure that procedure that he made, that becomes how we do business, where everybody knows if you're going to do business with us mofos, this is how you're going to do it. Like it or not, this is my stuff. You're going to do what I need you to do. I'm going to find somebody else who can, or I'm going to do what Jake and his team did at the water utility. I'm going to hire a bunch of people that know how to do this in-house and have my own in-house team of integrators, basically, and get them to figure out how to do it. Screw the rest of you people. I'm going to protect my own assets. I don't know why more of the asset owners don't think that way. It's your money. It's your liability at the end of the day. If something happens in the public and it's your stuff, they're coming after you, right? You know what I mean? Like, first off, it shouldn't come to that, in my opinion. So if Isiah Jones was in charge, I'm just going to put it out there. Even without the DOD background, I grew up poor and in the ghetto, and I've seen a lot of things even before I got into this industry. So just growing up as a latchkey kid below the poverty line, it's just like, look, if I'm going to be able to control certain things, it's a no-brainer for me. I'm just going to go out and do it. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to sit here and read Gartner reports. I'm not going to sit here and read tea leaves of what is my peer over here doing. Who gives a damn? This is my stuff, right? It's like, protect your house. Right. You know what I mean? Somebody got to tell you protect your house. You got other issues. That's just Isiah's personal take on the world. I don't understand. I've been in some of these executive meetings. I've been in areas in the government briefs, unclass and class, and people just talk in circles. People always tell me, oh, you need to be more political. You're too candid. Other people will quietly come up to me and say, oh man, we're glad you said that because somebody needs to say it. I'm like, why don't you freaking say it? Like, Why does it got to be me? Like, come on, get a spine, stand up for your stuff. It's your stuff. It's your money. How you gonna let somebody tell you what to do with your money? They work for you. I've been in environments where the integrator was arguing with the asset owner, saying he's not going to do this because he doesn't meet his schedule. And I'm like, the asset owner could control the schedule. He could change the schedule, And I'm standing here watching them argue, and then the vendor's sitting here like, well, who do we listen to? I'll say, you probably should listen to the asset owner because it's his stuff. He could fire the integrator and get a new one. Right. But it's very rare that I've seen that, right? It's normally like, hey, let's just cut a contract. Let's just let these people do this. We're not going to tell them how we want it done. Really? Well, then you're going to get whatever they give you. That's your own fault. I don't feel sorry for you. Like, I'm sorry. That's just Isiah Jones' take on it.
One thing I think I want to leave us with this thought, because, and once again, thank you so much for taking your time with us. But the thing that's come up in my mind after talking to you at the beginning of the conversation, you were talking about how you went back to the public sector, and I'm just curious, who's got it together more, the commercial side or the government?
When I was civil service, I was a public servant, right? But I started out as a public servant for DOD, and then I went into FERC, between those contractor consulting years. Now I'm just a contractor again. specifically with a 3-letter agency. But so we're not really, other than when we go out and we look at certain infrastructure, obviously we know that's public, but the rest of the stuff is just focused on specific military units and stuff like that, and the weapon systems. But in general, with my private sector customers, because I still keep one foot out because I refuse to like get sucked all the way back in. Let's just say, other than the few shining unicorns like the LNG company years ago, or like, you know, the guy in Belgium that had the greatest functional specs, or, you know, people like Jake and the team that they built, where they were able to say, no, we don't need to do this. We don't care what corporate says. We have a team of people we built. We design our stuff. We lock it down. We gave them the data that they needed so they can salivate over it, but we did it in a way that we basically try to dummy proof it, right? But very rarely do you have organizations that have that capability, unfortunately. And it doesn't matter the size. I mean, everyone likes to get caught up on, oh, you know, the co-ops can't do this and these big companies can because they got dude, there's some small companies that will put the oil and gas companies to shame, okay? There's little plants that have 1 or 2 people that if I was in charge, I'd give them money to clone themselves, and they put everybody else to shame. So I don't think it's not so much the size, it's who do you have. If you got a Jake and you got 5 Jakes, but you only got 100 employees, you got 5 Jakes. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I would put my money into those 5 Jakes and all the equipment, and I would say, screw the outside world. We gonna protect our house.
Right.
Some of these people are spending too much time licking their fingers, checking the weather, looking at what somebody else is doing. I mean, look, man, in the ghetto, if you did that, your lunch was getting taken. They was gonna roll up on you and rob you. If you was focused on what everybody else is doing instead of just observing how everyone else is not doing stuff and prioritizing how you protect yourself, you know, unfortunately, military, the public civilian side, and private sector, they're all the way FUBAR, man. It doesn't matter. And I know some of them think they're better, but I am a guy who can say with credibility, since I walked through all those stupid doors, not just in America, but globally, none of them can point the finger at the other. They all, as we said in the ghetto, and excuse all the cursing, all their shit stank. I'm sorry. And if any one of them is coming out saying, oh, we're better than something, no, the hell you're not. I've been at some of your facilities. I talk to your engineers. I've seen how you treat your technicians. I see how you do your procurement. I see what kind of integrators you use. You use the same dumb integrators that everyone else do. Like, come on, man. Like, you're not perfect. Oh, this one site is cool. That is not a representation of your whole company. Same with the military. Oh, this one part of an installation is doing a good job. Well, not the rest of the installation. You know, oh, you look at these 5 buildings, so they have a task critical asset. You ignored all the other buildings that are all connected to the same control system. Good job. You're not doing anything good. What you're doing is you're fooling yourselves because you're not being honest. You're not actually addressing less of boom. You're going through the motions. You're checking the box. You're monitoring the network, which isn't even the problem. I don't know why they keep focusing on that. It's like I don't know if, like we talked about this before, morals and ethics and change management. I don't know if it's just they're too afraid to be vulnerable and admit that they don't know anything and that what they know is just their comfort zone and they refuse to go deeper. Or they really honestly, I mean, I'm trying not to believe that they honestly believe that the approaches that they're taking is actually going to fix something. It might give you visibility, but some of them breathe a sigh of relief that, oh, we did all these cool mitigations. We put all this stuff in here. We put all these firewalls in, we're done. No, that sounds like the stupid stuff we did on the IT side that we all agreed a decade ago didn't work. Like,
right.
Like that's why we started telling people do secure coding. That's why OWASP became important, because we realized all that other stuff was nice, check the box. We still have work to do, and we need to invest in that work, and we need to keep beating that drum, and we need to make it continuous, and we need to make it a culture. I don't think we're fully there yet in ICS. Even when people in the industry that know better, I mean, just watch some of my LinkedIn discussions. I try to explain stuff, and I think I'm explaining it in a way that they would understand. And it's still getting route back to, oh, well, we put a firewall here. We did this with network. No, I'm not talking about that, bro. I'm talking about the actual control system. Oh, well, that's part of no. Networks are transports. They're not the control system. Even in the DCS, I know the DCS guys think, oh, it's all tightened in together. No, it's not. I've looked at some of your equipment, bro. Yes, you have cool, smart switches, but the switch is still a switch. It's not the controller. The switch don't have the logic in it. The switch ain't the one controlling the freaking valve. Look at the actual system, because that's what the problem is. That and the people. That's the two primary attack vectors. The network is just another nice to have, just like it is for you, it is for the attacker. You take the network away, the problem's still there. Focus on the problem. The network is just an added bonus. All the network stuff is cool, but they're like, they were putting so much effort into that, and then we checked the box like, we did it. No, you didn't, bro. You just got started. You didn't even look at the actual system. You didn't look at the people. You didn't look at the guy throwing the thing in the dumpster because he doesn't know any better or because he doesn't have support. You don't look at the guy who wrote all these great functional specifications who has no one to help him enforce it or validate and verify that what he's getting from these integrators is actually meeting the functional specs. You didn't do any of that work. So what did you actually accomplish? You see what I mean? But that's Isiah Jones's personal opinion. That doesn't represent any organizations that I have or currently work for. That's just me. I don't think any of them are doing that great. I don't care who they are. Private sector, big, small, military, intelligence. They all have blind spots, I'll put it to you that way. And the blind spots really ain't just the network. It's the way they do things in general. It's the way they think. It's how they procure things. It's how they test and validate, or the lack of, right? Because that's the biggest problem. Even in the military, when they're supposed to, we have the UFCs, we have RMF, we have security, SCAs, which used to be system validators. That is a requirement, and they still ain't doing it.
Right.
See what I mean? So I don't think anybody out there, regardless of who they are, should be saying, oh, we're good, all these other people are screwed up. Okay, invite me into your environment and let me go to your sites. I guarantee you I'll find some stuff you need to work on. And you know how I'll find it? I'll go talk to your technicians. I'll go look at their work orders. I'll go look at what kind of problems they have at night and how many times they've been complaining about some stupid thing that doesn't work that you won't fix. I will find it. And if I can find it, someone who wants to do harm to you or someone who makes a mistake on the job, I keep going back to that. It is not always an intentional, quote unquote, adversary. It can be someone who just doesn't have the right specs or didn't follow the specs. The consequence is the same. In fact, consequence probably worse in those cases because they really know how the system works and they just did whatever they wanted, or I've had PLC programmers tell me, oh, well, they gave me the wrong specs. I programmed it the way the specs said. Okay, that's actually legitimate because he did his job. He programmed to the specs.
Right.
Who wrote the specs? Now that becomes the problem. So I think people are they're playing whack-a-mole and then they're patting themselves on the back. They're not actually trying to solve the problem. If they really were trying to solve the problem, they sit back and look at all these things we're talking about, and they'd really see all the pain points and they'd address those as priorities. And those pain points might be different. I don't know why there's this rush to like all the pain points are the same in every situation. No, they're not. I just gave you multiple examples. Some of these examples were within the same organization, just different plants, different sites, different people involved, different countries involved. You see what I mean? Even if it was at the same site, you can find multiple pain points. Unfortunately, I don't think people are doing that. They're going for like, hey, let's do the network. Hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do that.
Well, everybody, this is real talk, and we need to get better as a whole.
Yeah, I know. I hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I mean,
No.
I'm not going to be a political guy. I don't ever ascribe to be one. I think having these conversations, people need to take the feelings out, have a real conversation. Let's really say, hey, how do we do this? We don't know. Okay, well, let's try it. How do we figure it out? How do we troubleshoot? How do we go back to the basics, which I brought up before in our last podcast? Why do we keep abandoning the basics? Like, you don't need to be Jake's age to realize that the basics actually still work, right? Like, if we don't know what to do or we're confused or what we're doing isn't working, then that's a clear red flag that we don't get the problem, and we should start there. Start back at square one. Define the problems. Figure out all the unknowns. Don't be scared of that. That's probably where the solution is. Guarantee you that's probably where the solution is. And it ain't going to be just plugging in a tool. I promise you that. That's one thing that is consistent. 99% of the stuff is not going to be solved by buying the latest product and plugging in. That latest product and plugging in might be helpful, but it ain't the solution. And unfortunately, nobody wants to accept that and then do something about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Isiah Jones, and we're going to wrap this episode of Risk Work News. I'm Mike Barthel. We'll see you again soon. Thanks, Isiah. We'll have you on again soon, buddy.
Hey, no worries, brother. Take care.